Yeah, and if you want to go out there and you want to subscribe to Johnny Gaz's YouTube page, right there it is. You can jump in, and it's free. Look at it; it says free right on there. You can scan that QR code and do that thing.
The absolute price of $0.00. It's amazing. What a great deal.
A thumbs up. That's all we need. But the biggest talk that it seems like we get that's out there is, and it doesn't, I don't think that people mean anything by it, but it's like, it doesn't matter who we sign. It could be a good cornerback. It could be, a good defensive tackle, bringing back our own guys. But every single time it comes up, somebody's like, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Oh, as a cornerback, can you rush the passer, Johnny? Can you go after the passer? So we have to talk about it, man. They haven't done anything with the pass rush. Are you concerned at all about that?
I mean, the offseason's been interesting because I've went through ups and downs, I'd say, with where the Lions have been, because we've talked over and over again about how we all would have loved the Myles Garrett experiment here in Detroit, but that wasn't a reality. And, there were other players I think that people would have been happy with, and, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson. So whoever your guy was, whoever your flavor of the day was, yeah, we'd all love to see that person paired up with Aidan Hutchinson and involved in the defense, but we also know what Brad Holmes' strategy is and what the true situation with the Lions are. They're looking to retool, revamp what they had in 2024, and it looks like we're heading towards the draft to really address what could be the biggest need here.
Absolutely, man. And I'm under the same thought process right there. It's like, I love the idea of getting, a Trey Hendrickson. Go out there and if you can make the team better, make the team better.
Yeah.
But when Brad Holmes got up there, it's like the realism of like making a trade. I mean, look at all of the hype that came out. I mean, Myles Garrett actually comes out and says, hey, I don't want to play for Cleveland, or I want to play for a contender. They go through all this hoopla. Same thing with Max Crosby out there. And at the end of the day, they sign with that team. Myles with the Browns, Crosby with the Raiders, and Hendrickson is probably going to just re-up and sign back with the Cincinnati Bengals. They'll make it work, and then here we are.
Yeah.
And we're back in the same spot. And I think that Brad Holmes knew it, going into it. And I want to do something. I'm going to kind of curveball you right here from the get-go. I'm not going to get right into the draft. Let's get into the free agents right here. And, starting with some of the more popular ones that are available right now, but kind of go through it. It's not like it's awful. You got Dante Fowler Jr. Give me your thoughts on Dante Fowler Jr. possibly coming in here.
I think I don't see them making this move, and I don't. It's not that I don't like Dante Fowler Jr. I just feel like the answer for Brad Holmes has been and will be the draft, and I feel like if this move was going to be made, they would have already pulled the trigger. So I feel like they've really moved past the idea of finding an edge rusher in free agency. Now, don't get me wrong. I like an insertion of Dante Fowler Jr., but I just think the price would be still too much for them to consider making that true move. And I think the biggest thing we got to think about, and what I think Brad thinks about more than anything, is the long-term big money they're going to have to pay to Aidan Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph. We talked about a potential Brian Branch thing down the road, J-Mo. There's just so many players that he's going to have to consider, to where I just don't think the money's going to add up for a move like this.
Yeah, and I agree with you to a point, but we could put a little caveat on this because we're just having some fun today, like with some of these names. So this with the caveat that any of these guys that I would bring up would come in at a minimum type of deal,
okay.
like how Davenport came in, or however they can get these guys in. They want to come play with a contender. And with all due respect to the players that are left in free agency, we're past the first wave of free agency. So if somebody would have wanted to pay the high dollars for you, you would have already gotten that money. So these guys, they may want more money, but my dad always used to say you can want in one hand and shit in the other. Let's see which one fills up first.
Either way, I think it might smell. You know what I mean?
Right. It's not going to be. But I don't mind if we do. If Dante Fowler comes in here, he had some production last year. He was decent, but it's not a game beater.
What I
You're not
like though
going,
is I think he'd be so productive off of the players we have. So I think the nice thing about Fowler is he's an established guy, versus a draft player where you're kind of having to build into the system. I just think so. I mean, in dream scenario land, thinking of him paired on opposite end of Hutch, and you get a returning healthy Lee McNeil. Yeah, I mean, he could be productive just based on association with the other guys eating up, the best players on the other side. So he could be very productive in this defense.
So I wouldn't say that this move is off the table, but like when we get done with this little experiment, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 guys here that PFF ranked in the top, 150 players available in free agency that happen to be edge players. And we're just going to go through all of them and see what we think of them. The next player I have on the list right here is Matthew Judon, who didn't have a very productive year last year. I mean, if everybody that wants to crap on what Brad Holmes has done in free agency thus far, and Matthew Judon is your answer, I don't know what we're even talking about right here, because the guys that we signed, in our own free agency for a bag of chips, like Levi Onwuzurike, are better than Matthew Judon, like at rushing the passer. So I don't know what we're even talking about. We trying to get Matthew Judon to come in here, the corpse of Matthew Judon, maybe get a resurrection of abilities here.
Yeah, they love the injury resurrection. So I don't know if they're into the ghostly resurrections. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna buy the kneecap off.
I love it. I mean, I don't think. I don't know if he fits the bill, and I think the Davenport move kind of tells you where how they feel about the other side of this, at least right now. And I'm not a Davenport guy either. That's not the answer. But I also think that Davenport could be more productive if he was to stay healthy over a Matthew Judon. So they're willing to take the team-friendly deal and roll that way in this case.
John Dorn chiming in right here says Fowler just went to the Falcons. Yeah, I've been working all morning, so if one of these moves happened, it might even happen last night. Fowler's gone. So, so it does get kind of like slim pickings here. If you're really looking for a pass rusher, they're so rare that, you really do just got to go into the draft and try to get these guys. Yeah. Moving on right here. Dennis Gardeck. I mean, he might have been like the most unknown guy that actually was the best out of these 3 guys, but he's too small to me when it comes to, trying to be an edge player. I mean, I don't want a 232-pound edge. I'll pass on that. How about you?
Yeah, that's perfectly stated. Just not the right guy to fit on the opposite end of a super athletic edge in Aidan Hutchinson. Now, the one thing though in Gardeck, he seems like a Campbell type player. Remember, he was really good against the Lions in week 3. I think it was last year. He was all over the field. I think he was forcing turnovers left and right. So I mean, I just think he's a player, but I don't know if he fits the bill for what the Lions need.
Unless, we're going into what we were talking about before, which was that schematic change. Now, if he's rushing as an outside linebacker, that might be a little bit different of a scenario. But yeah. How about
that's how you feel about it right now? That's like are these the moves?
Why aren't the Lions doing anything? And I think that I'm showing you, really any team. If you're a Packer fan, if you're a Bear fan or a Viking fan, do you want any of these guys? I mean, are you, downing on your team that, because, we're not going out and spending money on Carl Lawson. I mean, even if you bring this guy in at a minimum deal, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, he had 6 sacks last year, a little bit of production. He's only 29 years old. He had 27 pressures last year. This one actually seems like something more up my alley anyway. 64.8 pass rush grade last year. At least it's not awful. What do you think? Carl Lawson? Anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. That's it. It's like Bueller. I don't know if we want to take a shot again on Carl Lawson. You know what's funny is just to be on the big picture thing, I don't trust anything that comes through the Cowboys organization and doesn't like stick around. You know what I mean? Like already it's like, oh boy, you're kind of playing with fire.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm trying to do this I'm doing this for you guys out there because I want to be helpful, because I know that there's a lot of content creators that want to be right, and I would rather just get your mind in the right place with your team. Should you be freaking out about certain things or not freaking out about certain things? And we do have a big hole at pass rusher. I'm not saying that we don't, but I'm not also one of those guys that's an advocate for just going out to sign somebody. Oh yeah, look at that, we got a body. No, let's not do that. I mean, Carl Lawson, that's not bad. I mean, if you want to bring Carl Lawson in he seems to, fit as far as like production and what he actually did last year, coming off of a year. He had 6 sacks on 402 snaps. He got some pressures, 27 pressures. That's not bad on somebody who plays about half of the snaps. Had a decent grade. You don't want to spend too much money on this guy or anything, but 6'2", 265 pounds. He's got good size. Good. It seems like he's got the build to have decent power too.
That's just it. It's like pass rushers don't grow on trees, and I especially when we're talking NFL and free agency, it's just not. Those guys are paid, and those organizations that are really smart keep those guys around. So guys that make it to free agency, unfortunately, just aren't in the mold of what Brad Holmes is trying to do. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse with this, but the draft, develop, and reward system isn't going out and getting high-priced free agents. That's not what fits into this. So it's unless. And I get the argument. I wanted Myles Garrett as much as the next guy, but it's now for what's out there. It's just not available. And I see it in the chat. I think, it's draft is very heavy now with pass rushers and defensive edges and tackles, to where I think Brad knew that going into it. So he wasn't about to break the bank before he got to that point.
Yeah. And that's coming from Green Bay fan. John Dorn is a Green Bay fan. Steve is a Green Bay fan. And it's like, this is what's out there, guys. It's like you get through that first wave, and this wasn't the strongest free agent class really in anything. We got probably the best free agent corner that was out there, or arguably the best free agent corner, and still it's not like, oh my gosh, DJ Reed's gonna shut down and like lock down everybody. He's just a good corner. Like, it's good that you have lots of good players, but he's not Sauce Gardner. He doesn't have that. I mean, even though his stats might line up to it a little bit, that is not his style of play, where he's doing the Deion Sanders, where he's trying to, shut down half of the field.
Yeah, like DJ's not flashy. He's consistent, and they like consistent. I think they were lucky to have those things kind of line up, that character and the right time, the right player, and Carlton left, so they were in a position where they had to, there's where you almost had to have someone. Otherwise, you're bringing in 2 second-year players potentially as your starters, and I don't know if they were happy with that. So the DJ Reed thing, I think, just was like a perfect meant-to-be situation.
Yeah. Okay. So now the last one that I have besides Charles Lawson.
Charles and Charles.
Yeah. Charles Emmanuel. He played for the Chiefs. He's got a winning pedigree in there, but it's just another guy right there. He only had 1 sack last year. He did have limited snaps. He's coming off of an injury, so Brad should love him. I mean,
he likes to do his own surgery, so it's perfect.
Came back from a surgery, so he's recovered from the surgery. He played 13. Played to. Let's see how he did in the postseason.
I like his size, 6'5", 280. I mean, that's the right kind of fit there. And you're right, winning is good.
Looks like he disappeared in the playoffs, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, if you want to die on the hill out there, and you want to say that, Brad Holmes is an idiot because he hasn't picked up one of these guys in free agency, I mean, I don't know. I mean, You think he's an idiot because he didn't go spend $12 million on Joey Bosa, who is Davenport 2.0? I mean, honestly, how many injured guys do you want to roster and take the chance? You like the name. I mean, and what else was out there, guys? I mean, what are we talking about here when it's like the free agent brand? Let me bring these up here and just, I'll show you just what's been happening. Share this tab instead. Let's get this.
There was a shot, with like Khalil Mack before he got signed, and maybe taking a shot on something like that. Oh my gosh, that's weird that we lined that up. But yeah, I just thought maybe there was a shot there.
But look at it. So all of the hype on Khalil Mack, what does he do? He signs with the team that he was with.
Yeah.
We had no chance at getting him. Signs a one. I mean, we could have paid $18 million from. Okay, we could have, but he wanted to play for the team that he played for. I mean, I've talked about this on this show ad nauseum before, but I think the most dangerous thing in the NFL from year to year is progression. I mean, you want to tell me Josh Jacobs was great last year? Oh, signed this player. We signed that player. Anybody from the outside of your organization isn't going to impact as much as somebody that has been there. Like, you don't like the Levi Onwuzurike signing? Why? He's been here for 4 years. He understands the system. He understands the culture. He understands where the locker room and the cafeteria is. You ain't got to worry about any of that stuff, man. Bring back your guys. That's why Khalil Mack stayed. It isn't because Brad Holmes sucks at GM and he doesn't know how to negotiate. We should have been able to get him, Johnny. He wasn't available.
He wasn't paying $18 million. I agree. And there's such a difference because I heard the same thing from Myles Garrett. I want to be a part of a winner. I want to leave because I want to be, I'm not going to waste my career away in this city. Well, there is a number for all of these guys. And obviously that was more of the case, I think, in both of these cases.
So there was really no possibility at Khalil Mack. Josh Sweat, 3 years, $18 million. I mean, I don't know. That might have been nice. I mean, if we would have done that, we wouldn't have been able to do DJ Reed too. But if we would have did that instead, I wouldn't be complaining, But we didn't. He signed with Arizona. Hassan Reddick gets $12 million, 2 years, 1 year for $14 million. You're going to spend $14 million on Hassan Reddick? He's an outside linebacker. Doesn't even fit our system. Here's one that I liked. Yep. Malcolm Kuntz. I did like Malcolm Kuntz. Like I talked about him possibly being somebody that could come here, but he ends up signing a 1-year deal with his team to stay there with Max Crosby. So what are we talking about? Baron Browning, 2 years, $7.5 million. You upset? He stayed with his own team. Chicago signs, takes a shot on a guy here. Maybe you would have wanted him. Did you want to spend $16 million on a maybe? What do you think? I mean, am I spitting truth here, Johnny?
I'm with you. No, I'm with you. I mean, there were a couple guys Sweat was one I would have been okay with, but you're right. I mean, the price point based on the player wasn't there and doesn't align with what they want to do. But again, the market just wasn't favorable to them. And I think what they were ultimately trying to do and with their money and the big contracts, and I'm very into what the organization's culture is. And I don't want them to stray away from it because the fans and other people think that that's how they're going to win a Super Bowl. I think this is a proven strategy. I think their ultimate goal is to upgrade in the draft through the D-line and kind of follow the Eagles' strategy to get them and win a Super Bowl. I think that's the ultimate plan.
Yep, and we're getting that reflected from our guys in here. We don't have a ton of people commenting in there. By the way, if you're watching, commenting is that that helps us go.
I appreciate you. What up, Steve?
I mean, and even if I want to make up the whole thing and I just want to listen to myself talk for an hour, it's still better when you guys are asking questions out there and playing along with it. But and that's what I want to ask you. Like up until now, comment people. What do you think of? Do you think that Brad Holmes has missed a bunch of stuff, or do you think that this is just business as usual, and everything's going to be all right? Because I'm going through the guys. I'm trying to give you a chance. Are any of these guys you feel like we missed out on at the price point? Because I don't see anything that we really missed in here. And there you go. There's number 43. I'm just going to kind of move down here before we get into the draft guys. Chase Young. I don't want to spend 17. I mean, he was the 1 year deal guy. You know, I don't want to spend $17 million on a question mark. Aziz, this was a pretty good deal. Howie Roseman doing his thing. But Aziz Ojulari is basically just a pass rusher. And we had him here already when his name was James Houston. So, I don't know. DeMarcus Lawrence, that would have been nice.
I like Ojulari. Again, it doesn't fit with what they're trying to do. But there's a guy that I think was behind a couple pass rushers in New York and didn't get his chance or as many snaps as he would have liked to. I'm not saying he's a difference maker. He's not Myles Garrett, you know. But I think that's a very, like you said that's a Roseman move. That's just retool the defensive line with a guy that'll probably produce for him. I think it's a good move for them.
I mean, the funny thing, let me tell you how funny and finicky Lion fans are, right? You would look at this move right here. Why didn't that? Hold on a minute. Get this guy out of here. Ojulari. Gotta share this one instead. Okay. What I'm looking at here. If Lions were to sign this guy, the first thing that all the pundits would do is go, oh, he sucks. Look at that PFF score. But since he signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, this was the greatest signing in the history of signings. You know, it's okay. What are we doing?
That always builds it up, right? And if it's a Roseman thing, everything he touches is gold. So it's like, oh, that was the move. Oh my gosh, the genius, you know. But we'll see. They're going to have a tough route this year again, so we'll see. I think it's going to be good though. Between the Eagles, Lions, Commanders, I mean, you got a couple teams I think that are right back in the mix. Also, I love the PFF stuff because, and we use it in the right manner because you know we're looking at what we're talking about today. But I love the convenience of the PFF numbers when people are making arguments, and it's just that's a very interesting conversation in my opinion.
Yeah, but really the point of this exercise is to just show anybody that's watching, whether you're watching on the replay or watching right now, that, you know, if you feel any kind of way about what Holmes is doing, it's like, what did you want him to do when you're looking at all this, right? DeMarcus Lawrence, I like that. If they would have signed DeMarcus Lawrence at this price point, I don't know about a 3-year deal, though. I mean, at 32, really? You know, Fowler, you know, he didn't. I mean, I don't know. I could take any of these guys right here. $6 million a year on Golston. These guys are just, I don't want to call them one-trick ponies, but you're not looking at anybody here. These aren't any game changers right here. None of these guys, you know, Marcus Davenport included, you know. So when we're looking at just the free agency moves, I think that we're done. You know, if they want to bring one of those guys in, I don't know. We're throwing bodies on there now, but we have a pretty full roster right now that has, like, I think we have 70 guys that are on the 90-man roster right now, and we still got a full draft to go through. And I think it's going to be pretty hard to make this team. Let's see what they say in the comments here, Johnny.
That's it, man. I think they know they're going to add 6-7 players in the draft, depending on what they do, you know, with their picks, if Brad wants to make a move. But, you know, they only have so many roster spots to give out. So they're, you know, just to continue to add bodies, free agency, just because, oh, it's an edge, it's a tackle, it's an edge. Great. We're, you know, but it doesn't make sense. These guys might not even make the team.
So let's get into what I think is going to be where we're going to go this year, which is going to be in the draft. So what I'm going to do is go through. Did I not put these in here? No, I got the wrong one in here. I'm sorry, Johnny.
Don't
I
worry,
thought I
buddy.
had that. Yeah, that's right. Pardon me, guys. I thought that I had this in there. I got to load up my slides. And I thought that I did that on a pass rusher Saturday. I guess
right,
I
baby.
did.
No worries. No worries, man. That's what happens. We're chilling on a Saturday. That's what it's about, is just being able to hang out and talk Lions. I mean, we got a girl dad in the chat. I like Central's quote there, stay on the narrow path, because I think that's what Brad thinks. He's thinking the exact same thing. Draft, develop, reward. It's worked. They've went from 2020, 2021 to where we're at now, and that's a short time frame to turn from a joke of the NFL into one of now the powerhouses. I think we have to be happy with that and move forward, and let's let Brad cook.
And he has been cooking right here. I honestly, I think that the strategy is going to be, I think we're going to trade up this year, guys. That's it. That's the villain spoiler alert right there. It's just, they're setting it up that way, because it's funny when somebody says, oh, we draft best player available, right? You have to kind of earn that in order to be able to put yourself in a position to draft best player available. And they've lined everything up. And sometimes when you say you're drafting best player available, if you trade up, you're not taking the best player available. You are drafting for need when you trade up, because you're trading up and you're taking the guy you want, right?
Get your man. That's right.
So I think that's going to happen this year. I think that they've done their due diligence, and there's going to be a guy that they're willing to use capital. I mean, we don't need to roster 7 draft picks this year. They won't all make the team. I'm not trying to tell Brad to be reckless, but I think this is a strategy. We're going to fill every other need, the depth behind the depth, all the way through to where the back end of the roster is going to have a fierce competition.
Their janitors have the deepest set of skills you've ever seen. I mean, they can rotate 7 deep on that mop in Allen Park. It's incredible, dude. It's incredible. They don't lose a beat.
They got it down.
Yeah.
They got it down. It's pass rusher Saturday.
Good morning, Mary.
They're trying. It's still processing. Come on, process.
It's always about the process. The Brad Holmes thing. It's just reinforcing the sentiment here. You know what I mean? I love it.
Well, while this thing's processing, I can do my first topic on it. So the first pass rusher that's on every board on everything is Abdul Carter.
Yes.
And I understand that if we're going to talk about pass rushers, and, a guy that Brad Holmes could put on the team, and there it is, the guy, no problems, no character concern, a clean player that will most likely get a second contract, and you can feel that, Abdul Carter. But the problem is, if you want him, you're most likely going to have to get into the top 5. But in this scenario, if we're going to talk about him, because he is the first pass rusher on the list, what would it take? Where would we have to go? Where is the lowest spot where he could be available, Johnny?
Ooh, you know what? I mean, if there's one guy in the draft that it would be worth kind of selling it for, it's this guy. I mean, he is NFL ready. I mean, you remember Chop Robinson, who came before him? Well, this Abdul Carter was so good that they moved him to linebacker so that they could keep his talent on the field along with Chop Robinson. Then with his departure, he steps in and just dominates at the edge position. So he is the exact player you want in that mold, opposite Aidan Hutchinson, if you're going to stay in this realm. To me, though, to package enough picks to do this, I really think you're selling your 28 this year, your first round next year, and then some sort of combination of second and third round picks this year and next year to make that happen, or a lot of compensation to a team to get up into that top 5. I think the mock drafts I've seen, he's going top 3 even in some cases. So it just depends, but you're gonna have to really, really commit to that. And the question is Brad Holmes going to do it?
Yeah, so Abdul Carter, it's hard not to see Micah Parsons when you look at him, because considering they had the same number, they're playing the same number, they play the same position, same school, when it comes down to Micah Parsons. But here's a guy, he's 6'3", 252 pounds. He's kind of built in the mold of an outside linebacker. So this would kind of tip the hat if they were to make a move like this and move all the way up there. But this guy's a game changer. And in my research on it, I think that there's a Doctor Strange world where he could be available right around pick 6, where the Raiders are. And yeah, you're right. You would have to give up a next year one. You'd have to give this year's one and probably next year's one to enter the room of conversation with them, and then you'd have a gaggle of lesser picks after that to go along with the package to get him. But that would fix the problem. There would be 0 people in the land of Lion fan that would go, oh man, they need a pass rusher. No, that's fixed. If you get Abdul Carter. What do you think about that? It's probably not, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but that would be pretty damn cool.
I love it. I mean, it would be an amazing draft day happening for the Lions. And it would fit the track record of Brad Holmes. I mean, I think, is it every draft that he's packaged picks and at least moved up somewhere? So I think it's just a part of his DNA. So this would be a little bit more than we're used to, but I would be very happy with that. I think every Lions fan would leave the draft feeling pretty good. Well, not every single one. I know you got to, the people out there who cherish the next year's first round pick might be upset with that. But again, you're right. It fixes the true problem, and it's a go for it now move. I mean, it's a Super Bowl winning type player. I like it.
So outside linebacker, Abdul Carter, he probably could play the edge right there. But let's move on, because that's not really realistic. Here's one that probably is just as unrealistic because of how he plays. Because I want people to understand the difference between some of these guys that we want. Because do you really want Mike Green? Well, we don't know. What type of defense are we going to be doing? Because you don't want Mike Green if he's going to be your traditional end. Like I said, we've already done this with guys like James Houston. Like that, you got the smaller guy that's coming in off speed, power to speed right here. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that would be excellent as an outside linebacker.
Yeah, he comes from a 3-4 front. I mean, that it would fit that argument 100%. So I don't know. You're right. I think it would be a tell for what maybe the plan is overall if Mike Green is the pick here.
But that's another one that you might have to move up to. You might be able to get him in the teens. Like, let's have to say he slipped to like 15 or something like that. Brad Holmes might want to get on the horn. He might want to look at some Mike Green, 6'4", 248. Doesn't have a lot of starting experience against good teams. Kind of reminds you of that old Khalil Mack in that respect. He could put on some weight. He could be a traditional. I mean, you put on 15 pounds, maybe that's what you're looking at there. But Mike Green, he would look great in Honolulu blue if they come up there and get it.
He's a missile. I think he needs just more seasoning. But you're right. I mean, it'd be a move up situation, I think, to grab him.
So the next on the list right here was James Pierce Jr. PFF has him ranked at the 15th overall prospect at 6'5", 243. He ran a 4.47 at the combine. What did you have any thoughts on James Pierce?
That's a freak athlete, man. I mean, he's again kind of in that same mold that we're talking about, but this is probably more of a realistic situation where he could be available at 28. So I like this idea. I like that he plays increased competition. So I think he's more NFL ready than a Mike Green. So I lean more in this direction.
I I like this move probably more than most do, because a lot of times people are going to look at his weight and you're going to say, oh, look, he's 6'5", 243 pounds. He is an outside linebacker, right? That's not necessarily true, because when you look at his stats and what he played 440 snaps outside the tackle and only 16 snaps off ball linebacker stuff. So this guy, regardless of what the weight is, he is a traditional defensive end. They'll probably have to put some poundage on him, but you don't want to lose all of that speed. But he's another guy that could probably gain 10, 15 pounds in muscle before he comes in, because he has the speed to run with tight ends and wide receivers, but hasn't really done it. So they'd be teaching him something new if they want him to do the 3-4 front. So this, as far as where our defense is right now, seems like the move that's like the first realistic move out of those three. I don't think we're going to get Abdul Carter. I don't think they're going to trade all the picks. No. I don't think that Mike Green fits us as much as he's the beast and everything like that. He doesn't fit what we've been doing on defense. So, but James Pierce, freak athlete, a possibility to slide and, be available somewhere in the 20 to, even if we had to trade up, it would be kind of like a Terrion Arnold kind of thing. We might only have to give up like a day 2 pick or couple day 3 picks. I think that's more of the sauce right there. I think that's the first realistic option that I think the Lions could get.
The more we talk about this, man, I'm liking this a lot. I mean, I needed to read up on him a little more. I don't watch a ton of Tennessee football, but the truth is, like, this is the pass rushing guy. Like, I need a little seasoning in the run side of things, but I think what the Lions need is pass rush, opposite Aidan Hutchinson. So you're right. It's scheme fit, right size, right player from the right conference in college, and is ready to step in and has a high upside. So I think this could be a good fit.
Yeah, and like I said right there, you got the off ball. He hasn't taken a lot of snaps as an off ball linebacker. This guy's a traditional, just right off the tackle, go after the quarterback with speed. And Aidan Hutchinson's kind of like a freak, but he wins with that spin move, but he wins with power a lot too. And this would be a cool compliment to Aidan Hutchinson, in my opinion. But let's move on. So when we're looking at this, I brought up like guys that were in the top 100 as far as PFF is concerned. I went and I wanted to touch on all of them, because there are pass rushers that are going to be available for us in the second. And possibly, I'm even going to get into some of these guys on the back end of this will possibly be available at pick 102. So you got Mike Green, James Pierce Jr. And is this the one that you like?
Ziriaku, man, try that one 15 times. It's just that's a guy.
That's what I was hoping you would do, is say the name so I wouldn't mess it up.
No, it's all good. I looked it up last night because I'm like, dude, we gotta figure this one out before we blow this up. But no, I think I like this player. But the nice thing about this idea is maybe they don't have to reach again. And if this is a fall to you situation, I like the idea of not giving up picks to have to go get a player that still fits the need.
Yeah, I like this. This is somebody, 16th overall prospect on PFF. He's a smaller outside linebacker, edge type rusher who can struggle with the power aspects of the game. However, his quick, smooth style paired with a high football IQ and some really nice bend make him an ideal 3-4 pass rush type defender on day 2. So this guy may be a little bit higher ranked than where he's at. PFF has his pros: first step, both explosive and smooth, quick to use a rip move as a finisher to other moves. knows his arm length and can be an advantage. Consistent, reliable effort. Ooh, they like that over there. Good eyes and anticipation. Cons would be tough for him to take on pullers and lead blockers. Pursuit, speed, and explosiveness appeared to be average to below average. So once he diagnoses the play, he, it sounds like somebody else might get there first. Doesn't convert speed to power in an imposing manner.
Scares me a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like this guy had really, really good PFF scores as far as college goes, but the analytics say that he's going to have trouble making the transition.
I think there might be some physical tools that might prevent him there. I mean, this seems like the more we talk about it, more of a smart player, but I think they need a guy that's physical, and somebody who's going to go get the quarterback, not somebody who's going to have to learn how to, work around offensive linemen.
John asks a question here and says, what do you think about Holmes' fetish on injured prone players? I don't think that that's the case this year. Davenport's the only one that he brought. As a matter of fact, he's went around a couple of injury prone players, to let them go ahead and sign with other teams.
I just think he really likes the value that he can get in an injury recovery situation. I don't know. I wouldn't describe it as a fetish. I think he just understands the bigger picture of the financial situation for the Lions. And if I can go get value, now I know Davenport is a tough example right now because he hasn't produced. But the truth is, if Davenport comes out, and we talked about this yesterday, plays half a season, right? Let's just put a very small limit. That and when he is healthy, he can produce. And if, let's say he goes out and does that for half a season, you've already gotten more value out of his contract than you paid. So that's Brad Holmes. It's not a fetish. I know people freak out about it, but the truth is it's the right call if it pays off, and it's mostly worked. And we're hoping for another one. He wants to go for it again. So I think that's really what it's about, is value, high risk, or low risk, high reward.
And I think that the fetish, if you're going to say he has a fetish with anything, it would be with signing the players that that they draft, right?
Yeah.
That's the fetish. But let's move on into the next spot. And I hope this is good for you too, John. For you and your Green Bay Packer, because I'm not going to say these guys may or may not be a fit for us, but you guys run more of that 3-4 defense up there in Green Bay. So maybe these 3-4 guys would be more for you guys than would be for us. Cause you never know. You guys are cooking today. John says that. Let's get in here and get some love for these guys. Like Jason MC is in the house. He's one of my favorite Minnesota Viking fans.
You like that?
Mary Smith up in the house. What's up, girl? Mike and James both pretty good for the den. There you go. Central Scrutinizer. I can always count on you to come in there and make some comment. Thank you.
Say hello to my little friend.
What's up, Mike? Brad doesn't need to trade up for a guy with the highest floor. He's great at finding guys that will reach their ceiling. But Mike, I'm not saying to reach and get the guy. I know that they have a list of guys, right? And if somebody is on the top of their list, Brad Holmes is not afraid to jump up and grab that guy. That is all I'm saying.
This is my guy right here. Sherlock. Me and Sherlock go way back. He's on my channel all the time. We have a lot of great discussion, me and Mike. So this he's very in the lines like me and you, Villain.
That's awesome. Let me see who else. I'm gonna make sure I didn't forget anybody in there. John, Steve, you're my favorite Packer fan right here. He's the most consistent Packer fan. Even when they were losing last year, Steve would come in here and continue this trash talk. Like at the beginning of last year, I did a trash talk show, and it was nothing but Packer fans. It was like there's 15 of them. They were passionate. Mm-hmm. And then after they lost, they just kind of all scooted out the door. Nobody wanted to talk trash no more.
Oh man.
But Steve was the one to come on there every day. I'm so F them losses. I don't care. Go Pack Go. Like I appreciate that about Steve. So there you go, Steve. I'm giving you some props, bro.
I love the interdivisional rivalries, man. There are so many good Green Bay moments. Favre to Sterling Sharp, Rodgers goes deep in the the Ford Field. I love it because we can go, they could spit it at us just as much as we could spit it back at them, recently. So it's all good.
So John Miller right here says we have a lot of players to sign in the next couple of years: Hutch, Gibbs, Branch, Joseph, JMO, etc. And that's what we're learning. Like, as much as I love, a Myles Garrett, and thank you for the comment, John. I like this comment right here because this one sparks the conversation. It's like, as much as I love a Myles Garrett or a Trey Hendrickson, these guys are getting $40 million. Like, I'm thinking, yeah, you could get a couple pass rushers if they're $25 million each and stretch the bank a little bit, but no, you can't do that. We got to pay Hutch. I want to keep Branch and Joseph, and out of those, without signing a big name free agent, and you look at this list right here, you're going to lose one of those four guys without making a big free agent signing. You're not going to keep all three of those. You're not going to pay a big giant contract to Hutch, Gibbs, Branch, Joseph, and JMO. You can't pay everybody $25 million plus a year, $20 million plus. It just isn't going to happen.
You have to have major restructurings of some of the contracts you've already signed, like in Goff and Amon-Ra and Penny.
Sure.
Maybe they're willing to do it. Who knows? I mean, that's the only way it works.
Sure, but that's when you get into sacrificing future years to win now, and that's fine. If that's what they want to do, we'll know it when they do that, when you get all these guys on there. And maybe they do have that and be like, look, we want to keep this core together that's got Hutch, Branch, Gibbs, JMO, and keep it all together, and we want a 4-year window of all of those guys being on the team. Now, that 5th year, you're gonna have to crumble it up and throw it out, because you can't use future years to mortgage now and continue win, right?
I think Rick C's onto something. I agree with Rick C in the chat. JMO may not get extended here. I might be on that train with you, Rick C.
And that's it. You got to start thinking about that type of thing. But when you're thinking along the lines of why won't they go out and make a giant move? Well, that's why. It's already a hard decision without making a giant move.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And thank you for all the comments. You guys make it good. Like, if you guys don't comment in here, maybe I think that my topics suck. So if you guys can think of better topics, we'll go ahead and do that. And I'm not discouraged at all, though. I'm not discouraged at all, because we're on Pass Rusher Saturday, and next week when we get on here, we're going to hit them defensive tackles. What do you think about that, Johnny?
I think that's a real good call, because I think that's very much so in the mix as well. Although they did make some key signings, but I think, again, it's all about who do they like and what's the plan here. So I think that's a great idea.
Well, patching Band-Aids, getting a 1 year on a Lopez and a 1 year on a Levi, and you got 1 year left on Pascal.
We know what we feel about Broderick Martin too.
These are 4-year contracts that we're trying to get here. So yeah, everything's on the table. Now let's get into some of the guys that might actually get onto our 4-3 defense that play a little bit more of the traditional pass rushing, coming from Georgia, 6'5", 265 pounds, Mikael Williams. What do you think about him?
He's long, man. They like the long player. They're the 6'5", just long arms. I mean, just comes from a championship pedigree. So again, guys that fit what you're trying to do. And again, you said it, fits scheme. I think is a hardworking kid, and I think it's another very strong possibility at 28. I don't know if they have to move up a lot or package a ton of picks to make this happen. So I like this one.
So here's a guy right here. My guy, this one I really do like. I'm on board with you on this one, because this is the type of guy that you're looking for. Here's a guy that wins with power. 6'5", 265 pounds. He's not done even growing into that.
20 years old. Crazy.
Only 20 years old. That was the other thing that I was going to say. I mean, this guy's going to be going to get, if you drafted him in the first round, he'd be going to get his second contract, and he'd be 24 years old, which is crazy.
Nice life.
Great build for an edge player. Weight, length is NFL caliber. And here's a nice pro that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell love. Has violent and fast arm over, swing over when attacking on the inside. Good understanding to the advantages of his arm length. First step is explosive, and he can cover a ton of ground. Great motor, plays through the whistle, and just a very strong and dependable run defender as well. And you know how we love those guys that can be multiple, and they can play on the multiple right there. I love this. As if they had to trade up to get him, I like this. He didn't produce as much, but he wasn't asked to go in there. A lot of times a defensive end is, playing to eat the block, or, playing to have more people attack him, passing off, doing the things and allowing other players. He was good at that. I would love to have him here. And the weaknesses that they have on him are just the fact that he's got to develop the moves. He's got to develop counter moves. He's got a little bit of work to do, but that's what you do at training camp. As far as winning with power, he's a guy that can come in day one and win with power on that other side. He'd be a younger 5-year contract that would be what Davenport would be without the injuries.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's funny, they describe his floor as an elite run defender. If that's your floor, I mean, you're already sitting in a good spot. We know the Lions want to maintain the run defense. So if he's, fits the bill there, and you kind of work him into the other side of Aidan Hutchinson, and I think the athletics there, the length is there. I really like this. Along with James Pierce, I think you got two guys who are really fitting the bill at the right pick, where you don't have to make a ton of moves.
I love this pick. This is my favorite. I like this over James Pierce.
Okay.
I think James Pierce has got other things that are going on with that. And I'm not saying he can't be a good pro somewhere, but as far as like what we do, and if we are staying traditional on, the 4-2-5, 4-3 with the, with the nickel D,
yep,
and the two traditional defensive ends, this to me is the best one up to this point. And what do you think about that? We've went through a couple of these pass rushers. I'll show you what we got here in my presentations right here. We can do it better than Brad. I'm not negative. I'm realistic. That Brad Holmes should have listened to me in the first place right here. This is for you guys, the ones that are smarter than Brad Holmes. Abdul Carter, we talked a little bit about him. That's a pipe dream unless they trade up real high to get it. Same thing with Mike Green. He doesn't play the right thing, but what do you think? Do you want any of these guys? You want us to switch defensive schemes? You want James Pierce Jr.? How about Donovan? And go ahead, try that.
Iziriaku.
Okay, I can get that. I can do that. And then talking a little bit about Mikel Williams, the bad guy's in the house. What's up, bad guy?
To my little friend.
That drop I got just for you because you're out there. You're in there every week. We got that. We got that right there. All right. Here's a guy.
Oh yeah.
Here's a guy. This is a dude. What do you think about Shamar Stewart?
I mean, just look at it. 6'6", 290, and again, you got a couple Texas A&M kids that would fit the bill. But you're starting here. I think again. Athletic freak, and would fit the bill on the opposite end of Hutch, a pass rusher at heart. So, kind of will come in and give you exactly what you are lacking. So to me, another great fit. And again, we're looking now into the picture of more realistic scheme fit and pick fit for where they're at 28.
So here's a guy right here. We want a pass rusher opposite of Aidan Hutchinson. And here's a guy that we can get possibly in the first round of this draft that isn't going to solve that problem. This is a great end in a 3-4 alignment where you got a big ass nose tackle and you got another 290-pound guy on the other side of that nose tackle, and then you're throwing a jack linebacker at the quarterback. This is a great big end in a 3-4 situation that can offer you, like, if he's a big end, you're not expecting him to get 10 sacks, but he's twitching enough to get, maybe 6 to 10 sacks from the interior. when you're talking about the big ends. But I like this pick. This seems like a Brad Holmes that, like, if we're going to be switching the schematic a little bit, I like these. I actually like both of these ends from Texas A&M.
Yeah, Nick Scorton, the other guy. I mean, I've been selling this a lot recently, just based on what I've seen from his projections. I just think, to me, this could be the perfect fit, and another young guy can play both fronts, like you said. I mean, another kind of fit the scheme or fit the right position based on how they want to treat this. But again, the body type of this guy is almost scary. We see Aidan Hutchinson and his athletic ability. Well, this guy almost matches that. So to bookend those two together over any other player we discuss here today, I think Nick Scorton is the NFL ready guy and makes the biggest impact day one. So I would roll with this kid right here.
I like this kid. I probably like him a little bit better than Stewart. I mean, just a little bit, but it's the same thing to me, Johnny, where, we're looking for a guy to get production on the opposite side of Hutchinson. At least that's what I'm hearing from the fan base. And neither one of these guys are going to do that for you. Like, they may get you some sacks or something like that, but you're not. Neither one of these guys are going to be a 15 guy like what we're envisioning when we thought Myles Garrett on the opposite side. Neither one of these guys. We need a guy that is going to be able to get sacks and be able to push the pocket. Both of these guys could probably play the run really, really well, and they could develop. But I do like Nick Scorton probably a little bit better, just from that you could develop more of that pass rush. But it even says right here, you got number 27 and number 31 on the big board from PFF right here. And it says Scorton brings an alluring combination of overall size and pass rush moves to the edge spots, what gives them an ideal versatility to the 3-4 and 4-3 fronts. He does have length issues, flexibility limitations. In his current state, he can disrupt, but you're probably not going to get a lot of sacks out of him. And that's via PFF right there. I don't know how much you trust of that, but that's kind of where both of the guys were on that one.
That's a fair argument. What I also like to look at too is, like, what is he going to get paired up with and play next to in the scheme that he's going to fit in? And so, yeah, you throw him into the Panther situation, it could be a different story. But now he's coming in, and if everybody's healthy, right, let's play the perfect world situation. You have defensive player of the year in the opposite edge of him. You have two premier defensive tackles in DJ Reader and Aleem McNeil. All three of those guys demand double teams. That leaves Nick Scorton to basically use his athleticism and become a dominant pass rusher because of the association with the other guys. So no, PFF is going to tell you what they think he is. What I'm going to tell you right now is what he will be with the Lions.
So we got those guys in there. Let's see if we got anybody in here. You guys got some love in there? The bad guy says, would switching to a 3-4 make the Lions better? And I'm going to answer that. If it was like, if the season started right now, bad guy, it would. It would absolutely make the Lions better right now, because your main pass rusher would be free. You would free Hutchinson to be, and when you're running a 3-4, you would take all of our defensive linemen and be able to run them all on a rotation, and you're not expecting those guys to necessarily get to the quarterback, expecting to push the pocket and everything. I think 3-4 makes a lot of sense for the Lions, especially with the moves that they've made up until this point in free agency. So look out for it, because I don't think that Kelvin Shepard is going to just do a hard schematic shift, but some tendencies, we may be moving a little bit more to more that 3-4 type of tendency when this is all said and done right here. But now we're going to get into probably, this might be my favorite guy in the entire draft right here. And that's Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. This guy is 6'7", 280 pounds.
Yeah.
He's been a consistent pass rusher, but not like he's not blown, like he's not going to get 20 sacks or anything like that, but he offers a different type of play than Aidan Hutchinson does, and he's long just like Aidan Hutchinson is. What do you know about Landon Jackson?
I think it's a culture fit kind of kid. I think what I've read up on him is the background stuff and kind of what I think he would bring to the room itself. Is it the guy that's like we talked about? Is it the difference maker that steps in day one? Is really your pass rushing hero? No, but I think he could develop into something long term. And if that's what they're interested in doing, I'd be okay with it. I don't think this is a pick 28 guy. I think this is a second round pick if they could work that out. But if that's the case, I like the kid. I like the story. So I would definitely be okay with that. The size speaks for itself.
So Landon Jackson, as far as PFF says he has obviously a difference-making build with height and weight way above the 90 percentile for an edge. Adequate strength to hold the line and to take on blockers. Surprisingly flexible at times for his size. Maintains good leverage despite having a taller frame and long arms make it better for his tackling radius. The negatives being, and you're going to love them, he's had 2 ACL injuries.
We love that. You can prepare him.
And he loves that. Yeah, right there. So that means Brad Holmes will love him, man. That's a difference maker. We got Landon Jackson in here. But you want a guy that's going to complement Aidan Hutchinson and offer you a different look at pass rushing, because at 6'7", at 280, that's even a little bit lanky right there. The guys overcame a lot, and I like this guy. I think that if he's sitting there at pick 60 or whatever our second round pick is, and he's sitting there, I think you take a chance. I think it's a good one to have. Is maybe not a first round pick, but if you can get him in the second round, that would be really, really cool. Landon Jackson, Arkansas. What do you guys think out there? Let me know in the comments right here. So this is the Lion Villain Report. We're brought to you by, Fanatics.com right there. You can get your swag, your WWE swag, your MLB, NFL, whatever team that you follow, whatever your jam is, scan that code, save up to 25% off of your order. Subscribe to the Johnny Guys Sports on YouTube. Subscribe to the Detroit Lions Villain Squad Facebook page. You can subscribe to the Villain Squad YouTube page. And we appreciate you guys for supporting the channel and us being able to deliver some Lions content for you. I love it. Brad Holmes should have listened to me, Johnny. I'm telling you.
If only he called you. Dang it.
Next on the list right here, on the big board, we got. Did I go too far? I think I went too far.
He's there. You're good.
Who do I have here? That's Brandon Swinson. Let me find him in here. Number 47 on the big board. 6'4", 250. Another 3-4 edge player. I mean, what do you think? What do you think of Braden Swinson?
I always like guys that come from the SEC, the LSU programs. I think the Lions like that. But again, to me, it's the scheme fit versus the player. So, coming out of the 3-4 situation, is that where they want to go? And does he provide enough athleticism to work with Aidan Hutchinson on the other side? So it really depends on how they want to scheme this up, or if they're committing to what I think Kelvin Shepard's thing is going to be. he learned from Aaron Glenn that through all the injuries and everything, you got to mold your scheme to the players that are available to you. So that's really what I think will happen here early on in the season. So if they think that they're going to run a lot more 3-4 sets and build those things in, then it's a higher possibility a guy like Braden Swinson gets into the mix.
So LSU, that's one of those guys. Shades of Malcolm Kuntz. That's what. Interesting. Yeah. The pros. He's got pretty good arm length for his size. Hand placement technique and leverage consistent. A decent speed, bend around the arc, natural movement, skills to drop back into shallow zones so that you can actually cover a little bit. Very active hands. High pass rush win percentage.
That's good.
So and the cons, posture, that's correctable. Hand placement when stacking is good, but slower when he disengaged. That's also coachable. He takes unnecessary steps when he's out in the field. So none of those are like threatening what he could do long term. So I like this right here as a possibility. I like some of the other guys better, but here's a guy that you can get a little bit later. This is possibly a second round pick right here in Braden Swinson. And then Jared Ivey from Ole Miss. Now I've heard a lot about this. This is another one of those guys that's very traditional to us. This seems like the type of guy that Brad Holmes would go get for this defense. What do you think of Jared Ivey?
Yeah, he's a funny one. He's got a lot of athleticism for 6'6", a lack of athleticism for 6'6", 285, which scares me a little bit because some of the other guys just seem to be a little bit more of a athletic juggernaut. I don't know about this one specifically because from what I'm reading, he may be more of a fit for a 3-4 inside based on that size and lack of being able to get around the edge. So again, if it's a scheme fit thing, then it works. But if they're not really looking to move things around much, I don't know if this fits opposite Aidan Hutchinson.
So I don't mind this one. It's a James of John Franklin Myers, shades of John Franklin Myers. That's what I say. Naturally, one of the strongest defensive linemen on the field. I like that part of it. He has the size to play inside and outside, the versatility. You like that? Speed to power is imposing. Now, that is something that we actually do need. So if he has imposing, you might have to, move a guy to chip block somebody that's imposing, right? Or you're going to get your pocket pushed. I like that from him. And I like the 6'6", 285.
It's huge.
That's a big boy. Long arms to create PBUs in the throwing window, and he's a strong tackler.
That I like.
So cons, he needs to anticipate blockers better. Pops up and loses leverage immediately out of stance and can get bounced around with blockers. And Marinelli would be beside himself because he would just be like, get better pad level. But this is a guy that possibly, I don't want to say that he would go and slide all the way to the third round or anything like that, but if you could get a guy, he's at 59th overall prospect right here. But I want you to know that these PFF rankings, where they're overall rankings, they are not going to take 30 defensive linemen in the first 2 rounds, even though that's where they're ranked right now, whether it's a pass rush or whatever. So one of these guys or multiple of these guys are going to slide and get into the third round at pick 100, even though they're ranked at pick 47. Because, unless there's some legendary run on defensive linemen in the NFL draft and they just refuse to take quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and all the other positions for a while, I doubt it. So there's a good chance that you might be able to get one of these guys in the third round. So when you think of these last ones that I'm putting up here, think of them as third round picks. If any of these guys were able to slide to the third round, would you take a shot on a Jared Ivey in the third round? at pick 102. I like that. I like this pick right there. If you could get him in the 3rd round,
and that's, I do. I like it. And a lot of it's dictated by what they do up front, right? Because I would feel a lot differently about this pick if, if they double dipped, if they really got the guy they wanted at 28, and then they followed up with him. Like then I'm like, oh, well, now it's a double win, because now you got 2 players that can step in and do some things for you. So I would like it in that sense, very much more.
This reminds me, Jared Ivey is in the build of where I think he's more like Levi Onwuzurike than he is a pass rusher.
Yeah.
I think he's like a big or a big end that isn't going to get as many sacks, or he's a defensive tackle type of dude that gets a lot of sacks for a defensive tackle.
With that, yeah.
However you would want to do that. Yeah, but it's not going to be a lot. A lot of sacks for a defensive tackle is like 6,
Yeah, you basically need him to become a Lee McNeil.
Right. Here's one that you love this guy, and if you've seen some of the pictures of his hair, I should get one of those out if I can find one. He's got some princely hair too, if you look at it.
It's the name, huh? I like that.
Yeah, princely Unamala Leanin. That was probably really bad. 6'4", 255. But you're talking about another outside linebacker type of prospect right here. Longer arms, naturally, effectively gets across the face of the offensive tackle. Twitchy player with good changing of directions. Has speed to catch running backs from the backside. Shades of Boye Mafe. What do you think of Princely? The princely man.
I like it. I like the name. I definitely do. This one I can't help you with. I'll trust you on that one. But I think, this is fitting him into the defense that's currently there. Like if they could deploy him as a specialized pass rusher, outside linebacker kind of thing, I think it works. But I just don't think he fits the scheme if they're going to stick to a traditional front. But I'm not saying he's not useful, because they have a lot of ways to deploy, their front 7 currently, especially with all the linebackers they have now built in. So he could be a specialized use up front and then kind of build into something more long-term.
He had 11 sacks, so he has the production. As far as, and most of those sacks were outside the tackle. So, outside linebacker, but he's not doing a lot of standing up, off-ball linebacker type of things. Only 9 snaps, 41 snaps in the first year. So this is a guy that would, even though his build seems like it might be a 3-4, it seems like at 6'4", 255, you could put 10 pounds on him and he's easily another end right there. And here's one that's probably not too popular for Michigan fan around here, but Jack Sawyer, 6'5", 288 pounds, playmaker from Ohio State. Third round, think about this in the 3rd round. I doubt he slips to the 3rd round, but like I said, one of these guys is going to slip. Jack Sawyer is a 56th overall ranked player, but it's like the 15th edge,
I like Jack Sawyer. I have nothing against him. I thought he was fantastic in the college football playoff. He probably made his draft stock based on those games alone. So, and he had a long career at Ohio State. So you like the kid. I like the player, and I think it fits the culture. But you're right. I think this is maybe a 3rd round, and I don't know if he gets to us in the 3rd round. I think we're at the very end of the 3rd round. So unless they build some things together and move up for him, if they really like him, I don't know if he slips that far.
What you see is what you get with this guy. That's kind of like what I get from him.
Yeah,
is he might have almost maxed out his potential. Like he may hit the ground running and be a decent NFL player, but he's kind of maxed out his abilities. So he's already kind of in a position where he's made the most out of what God gave him.
Mm-hmm.
And That's kind of what you get, 6'5", 288. I didn't think he was that damn big though.
Yeah, that's big.
That's
dude.
pretty. That's a big. I'm gonna make sure I got that right. No, I got that wrong. I got it right. It's,
6'5",
that is wrong. That is a misprint. He's 6'5", 260. I must have carried that over from the one right before or after it. Kyle Kennard out of Carolina, 6'5", 254. This is another guy that could be available in the third round. If you don't know a lot about him, he shows good understanding on how to win pass rushing in varying situations, both odd and even fronts, has good footwork, great baseline to build successful pass rushing profile as a day 2 selection. Let's see what else we got here.
Got good length, it looks like. Looks like good tackler. So again, a couple things the Lions certainly like to have in that spot. 6'5", 254, right size.
So here's a bunch of these guys, man. Like, if you want to know, here's another guy out of. I don't think the Michigan guys. Another guy. These guys are smaller type of dudes. These guys are almost borderline linebackers. With some of these guys right here, Jordan Birch.
I like him. He slipped a little bit. I think this was a kid that was talked about in a first round capacity, several weeks ago. And I think things have kind of come back down to reality. So to me, high value, if you can grab him later on, second, third round, I feel really good about it. Right size, athletic, is really, I think, a player that could fit in well in the current defense.
All right. Oh, they're giving me a hard time with my PFF right now, but so I don't care. I think
his issue is run defending, and that's where, are they willing to allow somebody to come in who needs work on the run defending side if they really are looking pass rush? So this would be, to me, it solves the true problem, but it would create a hole in a sense, because you gotta work that up.
So here's another guy that you could get possibly in the third round. He may already be gone, but like I said, you're not going to be able to predict which one of these guys are going to fall. And it isn't because a whole bunch of other edge defenders are going to be going before these guys. Like Jordan Birch, 73rd overall prospect. I just think that, wide receivers and running backs and linebackers and cornerbacks and safeties and, there's other things that are out there. Jordan Birch, damn, 6'6" at 295.
Huge. That's big edge.
But it's another one of those things. It's like we want a pass rush, and honestly, when you're looking at some of those guys, I think that Brad Holmes is going to target a couple of these guys specifically, because there's a lot of edges that are in there. But as we've went over, it's, if you want those guys that are going to get those high sack totals, those are few and far between, even in a deep edge rushing class. Guys that specialize, that can set an edge, be good against the run, and provide you pass rush. Out of those 15 guys that we looked at, we're looking at maybe 2-3 guys that can do what I believe that we want to do with our defense. What we want to do opposite of Aidan Hutchinson. So, great discussion today. Oh, this is good. This is good stuff. It is great having you on here, Johnny Gaz.
I appreciate you talking draft, talking how the Lions can fit these final pieces together to hopefully make the ultimate run is the best conversation we can have. So it's always fun. I appreciate your time and going through this.
So let's see what we got in here. Can't pay the big games money. Dwayne says you can't pay the big games money, or big names money, and set the team up for the future also. That's what you got. That's what you got to do.
True, Dwayne.
But when is the time to do that? I feel like every team has to get to a critical mass spot. And like right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are right in that window, right? And they're going to get to a point where all of these contracts that they just did and all of this stuff where it's all fluffy and nice, they're gonna have, the piper's gonna come to get that money, but it ain't gonna be this year. It isn't gonna be next year. It may not even be the year after that. But they're gonna come to a hard point where they've kicked all of that dead money in there, and we haven't done that yet. But I think that when you're trying to keep your players and you're trying to keep the guys that were the cornerstones of your teams, when we get into Penei Sewell's second, third contract, they're going to have to make some moves like that, where they're going to have to throw some dead money into the future to keep it. We're not there yet, but we're very close. I think next year, when we get into the beginning of 2026, they are going to have to shuffle some of these contracts to fit everybody in when it comes to these things.
I really trust the process. And again, another not like hot button statement to make, but again, like those other organizations have experienced Super Bowl wins and have been there before, and the Howie Roseman experiment has worked now several times over. So they know the process and how that all plays out. Well, this Lions organization has only done it one time in our lifetime. We've only had this experience once. I mean, you can make an argument maybe back in 91, similar, but there wasn't a sustained run at that point. So to me, I trust that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell will evaluate what happens this season. And if it happens to be that they drop off, which I don't think is happening this year, or they get to the playoffs and there's a failure again, whether it be before the NFC Championship game or in a Super Bowl, I think that both of them want to win. I think Sheila Ford Hamp wants to win. So they will then make the change at that point. And if that means at that time, okay, we're now ready to pull the trigger. We're okay letting a couple players leave the organization because we now know we have to make this move. They'll do it. They're smart enough, and I feel like they will go do that move, but they don't have to right now. And you laid it out perfectly today, Villain. The free agent market didn't dictate that they could just go do it. Yes, Myles Garrett was out there, but there's two pieces to this. Just because Brad Holmes and the fan base wanted it to happen doesn't mean that it was a reality. So maybe it just wasn't possible. And based on the other free agents we looked at, the answer wasn't there. So let's experience it. Let's look at these players we've just outlined so well today and see if they can piece together a couple of them to really make this thing happen.
And also remember that at the end of the day, there's 7 picks here, and you're not going to, we don't need 5 edge rushers. Yeah. We need one real high impact kind of guy. If you want to argue 2, I mean, I'm not going to die on a hill of 1, but 1 or 2 players, like Brent says right here, we'll probably talk about O-lineman the following week. I want to be able to give each one of the positions that we're going after its own thing. But yeah, O-lineman, interior O-lineman, we may be looking at that. But it is 11:30. I'm about ready to turn into a pumpkin right here, and that's all good. We're doing this thing. We're doing this thing on Saturdays. So this is the Lion Villain Report with my special guest, Johnny Gaz. I think that he's going to become a more of a stable part of this show right here. So make sure you go out, you check out Johnny Gaz on YouTube, Johnny Gaz on the X, Johnny Gaz on Facebook. Make sure that you do that.
I appreciate you, Villain. Thank you for having me on again. I'm having a lot of fun with this. And yeah, I mean, definitely also, if you leave Facebook here today, go over to YouTube. If you end up subscribing to my channel, also go over to Lions Villain Squad and make sure to hit the subscribe button over there as well. Because we're both piecing together some good stuff. And I think we'll have some good things as we get closer to the draft and the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely get involved anywhere you can.
Yep. And that's the free way you do it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't cost you anything to hit a subscribe button or hit a like button or to put a comment in there. I mean, we want to hear your thoughts on that too. And another way that you can do it, if you want to spend some money right there, you want to go get some Lion swag right there. Hit that QR code or hit the link in the description. Save up to 25% off of your order right there. You're welcome on that. If you like WWE, MLB, NHL, all that stuff is in there. And we appreciate that. Special thanks to Joe Chapp over at Detroit Lions News Podcast. Special thanks over to Bill the Packer fan and Mike the Bear fan over at the Huddle Sports Network on Roku. We're the undrafted free agent right here. And I think that Johnny is in that fold too. We just like working hard. We don't mind grinding in here. I don't think that we're the best show that's out there, but we don't care. We just keep on grinding until we become the best. And that's what it is. So thank you for being part of the Lion Villain Report today. My name is Russell Wayne. This is Johnny Gaz. And may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again.